Intrinsically, I think everyone knows that when you look at your palm, that there's something special about your palm. The lines, the subtle energy, the redness, the shape. And this is why I teach palmistry. I think palmistry is an ancient art. Most people don't know that Le Comte de Saint Germain was actually a palmist, and he was a nephrologist, which means he read the bumps on your head. I think that the universe is always talking to us, trying to help us, trying to give us hints. That's why we have the intuitive arts, is to create maps so that we can understand those subtle energies in our life and learn to maybe anticipate or interpret or anticipate something that is going to be happening. Palmistry is one of those arts that works really well for this. In palmistry, we look actually at the shape of the hand. So we look at whether it is square, mine's not square, whether it's very, very long, whether it has candlestick fingers, which means that you dip candles in wax and pull them out and they're just tapered perfectly. We look at the shapes not just of the palm, but of the fingers and the crookedness of fingers, and if you're missing a finger or where there have been conflicts. And all those things actually mean something. They're kind of a hint at your past lives, and things that you're coming in to be able to learn to overcome. What I love about palmistry is great at reminding you how your health is, what's going on with your physical body. It's great at telling you how your love life is, and whether you've boxed your heart up or if you chain yourself with your heart and you get yourself trapped in relationships that actually don't serve you. It's also wonderful at showing you what your depth is, whether you're more of a left-brained person that wants to do accounting, or whether you're more of an intuitive person that is easily hurt and wounded and can take things very personally, and that you need to learn to navigate those chaotic emotional waters that you have. It also tells you about how your money is going and job changes and things that could be happening in your future related to a loss of a job, loss of money, loss of a house. You can even see things such as somebody breaking into your house or stealing something from you. And it also tells you about your life and how long your life is going to be, or where you might experience some energetic challenges or bumps along the way. It tells you what you've been really successful at, if you've been really good at school and you've completed school, or if you actually kind of missed out on that, if you skipped out on school and didn't want to do school. It will also tell you kind of how you see religion, what you want to learn in relationships, what you are learning related to money, and how willing you are to do the due diligence and follow through related to money. How you see power, how you wield power, how you move with it, whether you're operating with integrity or whether you have a really short temper and jump off and pop off at people very suddenly. It also tells me if you hold grudges, and if you're one of those people that has a chip on your shoulder and you never let things go. It also shows me where you've been saved, where archangels have overridden a circumstance, and that car accident that you had when you were 18 where you should have died, you didn't die because you had something called an archangel override, which means an angel interfered with the situation because you really weren't supposed to die there. It's pretty fascinating. It tells you so much about how you move and how you structure your life. The more lines you have in your hand, the more of a nervous Nelly you are. The fewer lines you have in your hand, the more you're just like a straight shooter, and you just do your job, come home, drink your beer, go to bed. You have this pretty straightforward life. What I find in general is that people who are exploring their intuition, exploring their depth, just innately have a curiosity about their palm. People who are surviving day to day and are not really paying attention to the subtle energies around them, honestly, they're not that interested in tarot, or not that interested in palmistry or tarot for that matter. So therefore, I think wanting to learn intuitive arts is an indication of a psychic spiritual opening. And wanting to create maps that give you accuracy and consistency when you're in the subtle energy domains, I think is essential for stability. Many years ago, I was teaching at a massage school, and I had to do a study. It was part of my job to do a study to find out how long people stayed in massage therapy, and the average length of time was 5 years. So then that got me curious about, well, how long do people want to be a psychic? And the answer also is about 5 to 7 years. The reason for that is that if you don't have really solid grounded maps and stability, and you're trying to pull things sort of out of thin air, but you don't have it anchored into a very stable spot, other people's energy and trauma can throw you. It will destabilize you. It can unground you. And what I love about palmistry is that it's like reading a book. It's just like, oh, this is who you are. You know, once upon a time when you were a child, this happened. And then this happened, and then you had a health crisis, and then your love life did this, and then you got this new job. And it's like reading the map to who you really are. And so it's so stable in that people go, wow, like, how did you know that? And it's literally written in the hand. All you need to do is learn how to translate that information in a way that makes sense to you. And that's what we try and do in the palmistry class. In the palmistry class, it is Saturday and Sunday. It is from 10 in the morning until 6 in the evening. The cost for the class is $200 for the weekend, and you will get my manual that I have written on palmistry for the class that you can kind of scribble in and draw in and do all sorts of things. You're also required to bring some sort of a magnifying glass and a light so that we can see the subtle lines in the hand, because literally some people's lines are very, very faint, and some people have like things etched in stone. And you can see that if they're etched in stone, that person is like set. I mean, like, this is what they're doing. There's not big changes. They set it in stone. But then there are people that said, well, I don't know, maybe I want to be more spontaneous and try this and try that and see which way I'm going. And those people's hands change much more rapidly and much more quickly. There's also power structure in hands that indicates kind of how old of a soul the person is. And that's important to kind of know what types of information somebody is really interested in. So you can imagine that an older soul would be interested in sort of like the past lives and the karmas and what's blocking them and how to unblock things, and, you know, if they're not taking care of their health, what part of their health is off. But somebody who maybe is a younger soul and at the beginning, they maybe are more interested in simple things like, am I going to have a job? Is my money going to be stable? Am I going to fall in love? Am I going to get married? Am I going to stay married? Am I going to have children? Things like that. And so learning how to read the evolution of the soul, not in a way that is like one's better than another, because we've all been at the beginning and we'll all eventually be at the end at some point, but to learn how to structure how you say something in a way that is more interesting to the person. I mean, if you're talking over someone's head, they're going to be like, oh, you know, this is pretty airy-fairy and kind of out there. So palmistry is a very grounded, consistent science. I want you to think of it like this. For over 4,000 years, the Chinese doctors did a study, and they studied your eyes, your tongue, your earlobes, the type of skin that you have, your palm, your fingernails, and that actually they could diagnose your what they call constitution. So how sensitive you are, how your adrenals are doing. And so palmistry is the art that is a blend of all of that. That for 4,000 years, Chinese doctors have been looking at your hand to diagnose your health. How can you translate that into your life now? And we're going to explore all those different places and options. I hope you want to come to the palmistry class. I usually teach the class once a year because it's kind of a hard class. I mean, so let's just say palmistry is not the easiest thing to learn. It's one of the harder things to learn. It takes a tremendous amount of concentration. Not only do you have to understand the conversation that is happening with the lines in the palm and the sentences that are formed when you pass from one area of the palm to another, but you also have to kind of understand the person's temperament and constitution and how they hear and how they translate information. So I have had people say, oh my gosh, Suzanne, I take this palmistry class like 5 times, and they take that class 5 times because every class you have a different set of palms to look at, and you learn because you have a very different hand in front of you. So the more hands that you look at, the easier it is to understand and learn and grow. Anyway, the class is a wonderful class. I hope you can come. Palmistry Class. My name is Suzanne Wagner. Bye.